Hey, what's up, podcast listeners? This episode of Another VO Podcast is sponsored by Headphone. If you're looking for something new to listen to during that long commute to work, that trying workout, or just for funsies, check out Headphone, a premium audio show platform. They've got comedies, romance, and even thrillers and horrors like Dracula and Dark Matter. So check it out at headphone.co.in. Use code AnotherVOPod10 to get 10% off your first month subscription. That's AnotherVOPod10 to get 10% off your first month subscription.
Hey, talkie internet thingy. Yeah, could you find me a voiceover podcast that has more than one person on it? It's not boring and, it's.
There's a lot of VO podcasts out there, sharing a lot of insight and knowledge. But on Another VO Podcast, you get to hear from three guys who are accountability partners and who all have a different story of how their VO careers came together. Do they have all the answers? Probably not. But between the three of them, they've made all the mistakes you don't want to make. And hey, they're really nice guys. Well, pretty much. Here's Jake, Alden, and Troy with another VO Podcast.
What up? What up? Welcome back to another VO Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jake Sanders, joined by Troy Holden and Alden Schoenberg. Guys, it is Tuesday after NFL Sunday. Did you guys watch some football this weekend?
Yeah, a little bit.
You sound so excited.
I think I watched more college football on Saturday than I did on Sunday, though.
College football guy.
I watched absolutely none.
You're not a football guy, Troy, are you?
No, I am. But
you are?
I have just, I don't know, something about the last several years. I've just gotten so frustrated with some of the attitude of the players and stuff. Now, I'll watch college football, but I have really laid off professional football. But
I know a lot of people
love
like
college,
that.
though. Love
yeah,
college
well, it's
ball.
like the college guys have got something to play for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the NFL guys are just like,
Right.
I could totally understand not wanting to follow that because of the attitude and whatnot. But it is a lot more fun to watch people who have a real drive and have a real thing to work towards, which is getting into the NFL. That's when they become not fun to watch. I'm not really a fan of any particular team. I am a big fan of I do a couple of season-long fantasy leagues, and then I also do daily fantasy because, again, I really like to gamble. So I'm really about the players. I'm fans of certain players and whatnot. So as far as teams winning, I don't really care one way or the other, as long as my players who I pick that week are doing what I need them to do.
Right.
It was a little. My girlfriend is a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, so it was a little devastating for her to see them lose.
Thursday was disappointment. Yeah,
it was. But honestly, especially after the Jets game last night, I feel like it's going to be a crazy season, just full of unexpected.
Oh my
stuff.
Gosh, yeah.
Well,
all that money to
I know
to lose your quarterback in the middle of game one.
4 snaps in, and he's out for the season.
Yeah.
Talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
If you're not following along at home. But anyway, well, I'm glad football's back, and I'm glad that we're back with another episode. I just wanted to call out real quick. We had somebody message us probably, I think, about a week ago. His name was Sandy Slade. He reached out to all of us, I think, on Instagram. He just said, just wanted to reach out and say hi. I'm starting out late on my voiceover journey, but have been passionate about it for decades. I'm loving your podcast, great atmosphere, and so much practical knowledge. Well, Sandy, we just want to say thanks for reaching out to us. That's really cool of you to say that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sandy.
Yeah, exactly. And we're glad that you're getting value out of what we come together and talk about, because that's really what we want to do. We just want to show you that, we're just 3 different guys who've got different opinions and different thoughts and different processes and different journeys in this VO life.
Yeah.
Unintended.
And we started this wanting to be an encouragement to people, and it's great to hear that that's happening.
Yeah. It is very good that that's happening. Now, Sandy did ask us, he said, I would definitely be interested in a topic on character voices and impressions and / impersonations in voiceover work. Is there such a thing as an impressions demo? Would that even be something that is done? So what are your guys' thoughts real quick on character voices and impressions? I'll tell you real quick from my point of view. What I've seen as far as being able to like mimic people or characters, I see a space for that on pretty much only Fiverr. Like where people like, can you do such and such voice? I mean, particularly I see a lot of it for Morgan Freeman. I know a couple of guys who do the Morgan Freeman gig. And that's cool. I totally understand that because probably hiring Morgan Freeman to do something for you would be highly expensive compared to these other guys.
Yeah, yes, it would.
Pretty darn close.
And usually those, and we'll have to ask our resident Morgan Freeman guy who's not on this podcast, but he does a lot of that stuff on Fiverr. Stuff I've seen, they're like, this is in-house, this is in-office. We're not claiming it's Morgan Freeman. We just want to set a mood for our employees, for our team, and make it feel special. And so that's very different than the doing impressions. While they are fun to do, but you'll often get those things in like YouTube videos where they want to use mock voices and do impressions and come up with their own or their fan content, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think doing your own character voices, that's fine. You can
come up with your own. For sure. You got to come up with your own.
Yeah, but you don't want to go out there and put out impressions. I mean, I just don't know anybody that has done that.
Right. No, and I just don't think there's a lot of room for, like he said, one of the things he asked is there's such thing as an impressions demo, and there's not an impressions demo, and you're not going to get a lot of, like, unless you're like, and unless you're like really spot on, you're really not going to get a lot of work for that. Again, I'm going to reiterate what Troy said. Coming up with your own characters and having a character demo, that's totally a thing. And that, and that is something that you should pursue if that's what you're into, if that's the aspect of voiceover that you want to pursue. But as far as impressions, there's not really going to be a lot of opportunity for you to make a big career out of that.
And don't do accents unless you've been trained and they're spot on.
Yeah, you got to be good at that.
It's one thing to joke around and say, "Well, get me something better. I've got to have a McTavish." It's funny to do that for a second or two, but I can't hold that for 3 minutes because I don't know.
Yeah. And what's funny about that is that you don't know what Troy just said. So,
exactly.
Can we get an interpreter here?
Right.
No, that's great.
I don't know what I said either.
I had, I think I was telling you about this, Jake, because it was a casting that we both looked into.
Yeah.
But a job that I was cast to do the American accent for, they asked if I could also do a British accent.
Yeah.
But they wanted it to be a real British accent.
Yes.
They wanted it to sound authentic, and they were going to pay me for both. Well, that sounds great, but I said, no, I can't do that.
You said poppycock. That's what you said.
I mean,
that's right.
Yeah. And again, like a lot of us want to believe that we can go in there and just be like, oh, this is asking for a British accent, and I'll go in and do a British accent. But if it's not, if they don't know you and they don't know that you're not British, then and you can convince them, great. But you have to be like, I would say like 110% confident in your
and if your British accent. If you gained your British accent by only quoting Monty Python movies, that's probably not going to work out too well for you.
Yeah. And that stuff that's being used here in the States, that's one thing. But when you get an agent audition, and they're saying
definitely
they need, authentic British, authentic French, that program, that's going back to that country. They're going to find you out. And if for some crazy reason you got booked for that and it got accepted or played, somebody's in trouble because they're going to real quickly know, no, that's not.
Pish posh. No,
pish posh. Exactly. And it's, and that's like, I hear people, and there are people on, I use Fiverr for an example on there that have, like me, have a Southern gig, but they're not Southern. They're on there doing this redneck,
like me.
yappity, really bad stuff. Yeah, really bad.
That's surprising.
But here's the thing.
So surprised.
We can draw the line at all these international accents, but I guarantee you nobody will ever speak up and say, I only want an authentic Southern accent.
Yeah.
I never hear that. So
right.
Yep.
Well, again,
even though it's all Australian,
it just ain't fair, by
even
God.
though it's all Australian and British actors playing our Marvel comic heroes.
Yeah.
Their American accents are a lot better than whatever your accent is going to come up with.
Yeah.
You are 100% accurate on that.
And I'm learning through dialect coaching. It's once you get through the first one and you pick up on all the mantras of what's different, then you can go learn and be coached on these accents and do very well with them. You're not going to be authentic, but you're going to be pretty darn good. And it's amazing to me once you get the first one down and you know where the words and the inflections and everything changes and what's different, how you can apply it to the next one. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys, for giving your input on that. Sandy, I want to just say I don't mean to discourage you from doing your impressions. Keep that up, man, especially if it's content for your Instagram. I do encourage you to look into doing like a character demo where the characters are completely independent of existing characters, but something that you come up with. And there's so much information out there if you just do your research on how to go about getting a character demo done and maybe coach them with coaches who specialize in character and animation and whatnot. But thanks again for your kind words. We're glad you liked the podcast, and thanks for writing us and telling us what you think of the podcast, because we really love that, and we love to hear from all of you if you take the time to email us, which we'll cover at the end. But
that was a great question, because I've never had anybody ask
it.
That.
It was.
Yeah, absolutely it was. And there's no such thing as a bad question.
No, they're all good.
So again, don't hold anybody that wants to ask a question, please do.
If you don't know till you ask, right?
Right, exactly. You don't know till you ask, and we're happy to help and answer as best we can. But today's real topic that we're getting to is being real and transparent with the other voiceover people who approach you, because I know we see it a lot all the time, and this kind of touches back on Alden's episode from a few weeks back about the seduction of the exception. You see these people who are like, I do so well in voiceover, I make 6 figures, blah 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 blah. There's also other people that just might be peers of yours that they look like they're doing really well, and they may not be doing as well as you would think or as they would lead you to believe. Now, I'm not thinking of anybody in particular, but I am on social media, I see other people, and I can only guess how successful they are. And sometimes based on their posts and what they post, I'm like, they must be really successful. And then maybe come to find out they're not doing so hot. And to be fully transparent, myself, I mean, like I've got tons of stuff I can post about jobs I've done. I got, I've collabed with some people lately on some fun Instagram stuff and been posting that stuff, been doing my own independent stuff. But as I was telling the guys the other day, I might be in a situation where I'm going to have to look for a side gig, and whether that's a part-time job or maybe a full-time remote home job. It is what it is. That's the struggles of voiceover. Now, one thing is for sure, I definitely don't plan on giving up on voiceover. I still am going to be grinding out as hard as I can and figuring it out. But, unfortunately, money rules in this world. And
it does.
And in voiceover, as you can make great money in voiceover, sometimes it just doesn't come all at once. So, yeah, that's one of the things I'm struggling with lately. But I told the guys that, and then we decided maybe we should just have an episode on being transparent and real.
And really, anybody who finds themselves in that situation, whether they're building a voiceover business or any other business, it's not admitting a failure. What you're doing is you're buying yourself more time.
Right.
Because if you try to continue to struggle and, don't see your income growing as fast as it needs to go to provide for your family and your needs, then you got to supplement that, right?
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to continue pressing on your journey and growing your business. And at some point, your business is going to get so busy that you can't keep the other job. And or make you so much income that you don't even want the other job.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing. I mean, like in my story, when we first started the podcast, I probably went full-time too early. But you know what? I'm glad I did. One, because I got out of a job that was just draining me mentally. It was not great for my mental health. But two, I mean, I wanted to see what it was like, and basically having nothing else to do but immerse myself in the voiceover business. I mean, like, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've learned some things. I'm still learning things, and you should always learn things. But I mean, like, I have responsibilities not only to myself but to my family and my house, my animals that I have. I mean, like, I have made choices, and I have to provide for those choices any way that I can. Again, I don't feel like I'm failing voiceover. I mean, like, I feel like me personally, I feel like I'm talented enough to be good at this and to be successful at this, which I already am. But it's come to a point where it's like I think I need to introduce something else in order to help maintain what I've built already,
Right. Right. It's tough. It really is tough. I have those those months where I think that, and, I tell you the most tempting thing to me, and this actually happened yesterday. A recruiter sends me an email if I would have any interest in moving to South Carolina to run a plant. And, here I am, I'm about to turn 60. I don't really want to go pick up and move and go anywhere. But when I look down there and it says $185,000 a year, it's really hard sometimes I'm going, But like you, Jake, I jumped ship a little quick. I had to. I couldn't take it anymore.
Sure.
And
I know that.
and then when I look at that and I go, 185,000 for what? I'm going to be right back quickly. The new will wear off in a year and I'll be right back where I was. I don't want to go do that. Could I do that and keep doing voiceover? Sure. You can pick up and move and go to South Carolina and have your studio set up the next day, ready to go
Right.
again.
Yeah.
But it's not the right thing for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all have to make those decisions. And I think it's good to be transparent about it so everybody else can hear this is a longer journey and a marathon. And in Jake's case, I have to say that he really should be. I know it's a financial thing, and I get that. But when you look at the length of time you've been in this, you got to be a little easier on yourself because you didn't start doing the marketing and the stuff until 6 months ago or a little more than that.
Yeah,
maybe.
like just before 2022 ended. So I mean, like I started learning how to market in like August 2022, and then I don't think I sent my first email until like October, and then I had to take
There
a
you
3-month
go.
break
Yeah.
because of just other things. But yeah, I mean, I may have been in voiceover for 4 years now, or almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in January or February or whatever.
Yeah.
Like four full years. But I'm not been full time for that time. You know what I mean? But now I know different things, and it's almost like I started over. I was like trying out voiceover for the first 2 years almost. You know what I mean? Or almost first 3 years. So yeah, I'm not concerned in that aspect. I'm wondering where I'll be in a year from now. Maybe I won't need that other job anymore, but I am making connections. I'm making tons of connections. And any day I know that there could be a connection that just clicks and all of a sudden, I don't have to worry about that anymore. But I can't bank on that, right? Because I don't know when it's going to happen.
Right.
And I don't want to assume that it's going to happen right away, All I know is that I like doing voiceover. I think I'm good at voiceover. Getting the second job would not be starting a new career. It would just be helping me fund my dreams still, right?
There you go.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
You supplement. How many, look at it from a musician's point of view. How many musicians have to wait tables or do this or do that, while they're playing at night somewhere and they're doing things in clubs and whatever, that's how it goes. They're working, I remember hearing stories of guys here in Nashville that worked construction in Nashville and they played the bars on the weekends, but they were songwriting and making their contacts and associations with people. And that's what, we have to do. Don't look at it as a step back. Like you said, look at it as something to keep supplementing the dream you have to get where you want to go.
Right.
Well, and how many businesses to spur on the next level of growth will go out and get a business loan?
True.
Right? To supplement and to increase their staff with the hopes of paying that back, right?
Gosh,
they do that. I wouldn't recommend it necessarily, but you're financing your career with time.
Mm-hmm.
You're spending time in a whether you're out working from home or whatever it is that you're going to do. You're working on that so that you can grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and hopefully you can latch on to something that allows you to be at home and doesn't take you away from to where you can't respond and reply. There are so many things that people are now doing at home. So, that's got to be easier. I'm always the thinker of being in a factory, in a building under a roof. That's the way it's always been. And that's why I'm so adamant that I just got to keep grinding and grinding. And I do some side things outside of regular VO, to try to help supplement as well. But, like what you're saying, I'd like to see this thing carry itself a little bit better, just a little better. It'd be nice.
Yeah. And in some sense, you're waiting on the next client to come in and supplement that. But until that client shows up, you need to fill the gap.
Of course.
That's
And that's
really all it is.
and it's my responsibility. Like I recognize that.
Sure.
And I got to do what I got to do. But that's just something I want everybody to know that's getting into voiceover and to understand is like, if you do jump full time too early, that's fine. Like you basically gotta take chances anyway to learn and
Oh, yeah.
grow, and that's what I did. Now, was I hoping things would be different? Sure. Who wouldn't hope things would be different? But I mean, like I basically, giving myself almost 2 years, really. You know what I mean? Like that I got to try this out. Did I learn everything? No, but I did learn a lot and it's definitely helped me. But there again, you just can't think voiceover. I mean, I saw someone post the other day and it wasn't in the VO Life, but I think it was in a different Facebook group. And it was like, if people in voiceover, are they really making good money? And there was people right away saying like, I've been doing voiceover since 73 and it put my kids through college or whatever. And that's great, but that's not how you should approach that answer. You know what I mean? That's giving that person just unrealistic expectations that they're going to be jump into voiceover and do all this stuff. And it wasn't even somebody who is offering those programs we were talking about in your episode, Alden. I mean, I'm just saying, it's just, I got on there real quick and I was like, look, absolutely you can make good money, but is it realistic to make it right away? Absolutely not. It's going to take time. And then luckily other people jumped in there to back up that comment and just to let this person know. And the person did seem appreciative for the honesty and transparency, but that's how we have to be with our community and with each other. I mean, like there's even some people who we call elite who are like that, who are truthfully and honestly don't come into voiceover expecting to make all this money right at once. I mean, it takes time to build. To build. Why am I
build?
Build. It takes time to build not only your business but yourself and learn and grow. I mean, like you just can't go into voiceover thinking you know everything all at once, or that it's as easy as just talking into a microphone. It is not, and I'm constantly learning and trying to better myself, and that's how you should approach it too when you jump into voiceover. If you have another job that allows you to work from home, or at least part-time or something that you can be at home, be at your microphone, I think that's the best position you can be in to get started in voiceover, if possible.
Well, and part of this transparency, I'll share where I am coming from as well. I would say I also jumped into full-time too soon. I'm just past 4 years doing voiceover and 2.5 years full-time.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I jumped wasn't because I couldn't take it anymore in my job. That wasn't the case. We were actually moving to be closer to my wife's family. And we had put a date on that. And we put some savings back so that we knew we could do it. My business wasn't going to right away be enough for us. We knew we were going to have to live off of savings for a little bit. And my wife also got some work. And so we had a plan in mind. The plan didn't go perfectly. And still, what plan goes perfectly, right?
Right.
So for me, where I started to miss some stairs, right? And start to trip up the stairs. Is that, you got the image?
Right.
So I'm climbing up the staircase to build my voiceover business. I was finding some pretty good success on Fiverr. And that was reaching the point where it was providing for us.
Yeah.
Really well. Problem was, I should have been pretending that didn't exist and continued building the other aspects of my business.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. So when Fiverr started to take some, started to treat me poorly, I will say. When Fiverr started to treat me a little bit poorly, I didn't have the other spokes in the wheel, built yet. And so even though I've been in it 2.5 years, like you, Jake, that whole 2.5 years full time wasn't all doing everything I needed to do in the terms of marketing and growing all the spokes of the wheel.
Yeah. And
to mix metaphors.
Right. No, I know, absolutely. And I totally relate to that because that was kind of my issue with the first half and maybe even more than half of 2022. Like I've mentioned before, like I pretty much while I did get agents in 2021, my second year in voiceover, I mean, like most of my work, all of my work really was coming off of VDC, and I did really well on VDC. And then just for some reason, stuff just started dropping off. And I think a lot of that was due to the promo they were running with the $99 premium membership kind of thing. And so the website got flooded because who doesn't want to make money talking into a microphone and doing voiceover. So people saw that and they jumped on that. And then I probably received a lot less auditions than I would because because of how the algorithm has to work or whatever and how they do things, which I don't fully agree with, but that's out of my control. Yeah. But I didn't do any of that marketing until like the end of that first year. And it was like, oh my gosh, like if I would have just started this right away or invested in learning how to market right away, who knows where I would have been now versus then. Right. And it's just, it's something like hindsight is totally 2020.
We're all in that same boat pretty much that we got into marketing a little late. Talking about VDC, and I listened to JMC over the weekend in the evocation conference, and he spoke about, everybody, he said he's always been one to go against the grain. And I get that. He said, whether it was investments or personal business, whatever, he said, I've just always, for some reason, I seem to go against the grain. And everybody was saying, don't get on pay to plays. Don't do pay to plays. And back many years ago, he and a certain group, a group of people got on voices.com. And as he said, they made millions of dollars on there. They were booking everything. And then,
back when it was young, pretty much.
Yeah. And then it changed and whatever, and they got away from it, and didn't fool with it anymore. That, that's part of that thing to where, it is. It's very crowded. It's very hard. But where I want to tie him into this whole story is the VO Journey conference that's coming up, Anthony Pica's online conference. JMC came onto a post very strongly, letting people know why the quote unquote elites, or whatever you want to call people who have been around a while, why they were going to this conference. And why would they sponsor this guy? He's all about cutting rates. He's this, that, and the other. And JMC said, how else are we going to educate the people about it if we don't go on there and educate them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And awesome. And I wish really cool when I started, that was, I'll admit to everybody, let's be transparent. That was where I started. I was in that group. Yep. That was the first voiceover group I got in. And I followed everything they said do, because they were posting what they were making every month. And I'm talking $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month on Fiverr.
Right.
So I thought, this is how you do it. This is how it's done.
Yeah. Right.
And it took a year or a year and a half before I got educated on, no, you can do this. You can do this. You can do this. Right. This is not how you should do it. Oh, okay. And I had to, then I that year and a half that I did that, I learned a lot. I became very proficient at what I was doing. I had a decent book of business off of that would sustain me if I wasn't booking on pay to play or through an agent or through direct.
Right.
And it held me up a little bit. And then up until 4-6 months ago, when I let that last client go from that era, who was paying me close to $1,500 a month, probably, but you worked yourself to death for it. So, transparency is not just here; it's all the way up the chain, and that it really made me feel good to see that this week as to 100%. Why are they going to that conference? And it was, the way the question was asked was terrible,
right?
But it was nice. Yeah, there was anger, but the response was spot on and perfect. And perfect. That's what people need. They need to be educated on VO as a whole, and it needs to be transparent as a whole. Yeah. Does that mean that what Anthony's doing is wrong? No, he's not doing anything wrong. He's running his business. He's doing things his way. He's educating people the way that he came up into the business. He's sharing all that.
Yeah.
And now they'll get an opportunity to hear something different from JMC or from the other people who are, and I don't like the word elites, but I really like what he said is he is going to do a talk on how to get out of the low paying jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, everyone listening right now, I just want you to think about what you just heard from all three of us. How, what we got stuck in. I say stuck in. Alden, working on Fiverr for so long and reaching a point of sustainability, but not doing anything else. Me being really successful on VDC and not doing anything else. Troy starting off the way he did. That should tell you right now in this business that you should have multiple what I call opportunity streams, what Alden said, spokes on a wheel, multiple sources of whatever that looks like, whether that's marketing, agents, pay to plays. If you're on Fiverr, that's fine, whatever. Don't let anybody tell you you're doing it wrong, but also be aware of, again, and we talked about rates before, but like, don't be aware of what your worth is. And if you can avoid it, don't work for rates that don't work, that don't do you any good, right? You know, there are things you should avoid, but at the end of the day, it's your business, it's your livelihood, but have multiple streams of opportunity. Like, don't just say, oh, X is working for me, I'm going to stick with X and only X. Because what's the definition of insanity? What's the definition?
Doing the same thing over again and expecting different results.
100%. And that's, and I have done that. So sorry, guys, I've been a little insane.
There you go.
Before, you know.
Well, but we're all a little insane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, you only have one spark of, what is it? What did Robin Williams say? You only have one spark of insanity. Don't lose it, or something.
Don't lose.
Something. Maybe
Don't
I'm
let it
quoting
go
that
out.
wrong. Yeah. If you know the right quote, email us at anotherVOpodcast.
There you go.
No,
it's funny, Troy, that you mentioned J. Michael, because I was thinking of something else from J. Michael that I feel like applies to what we're talking about. He dropped a blog post a week ago, or maybe a little bit longer. I can't remember when I read it, about the things they don't tell you about success in voiceover. Did you read that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I did.
One of the things he talked about in there is when you have one big client.
Yeah.
Pretend like that client doesn't exist. You know, not that you're not serving them, but financially and as a part of your business, pretend they don't exist and continue to build your business. Spend your income as if that client doesn't exist, because they can be gone like that.
Don't stop your process, and don't change how you live.
So for me, whether that was the early success on Fiverr or Jake, your success on voices.com, you know, pretend like that doesn't exist and keep building your business as you need to. Don't be convinced by success, by even mild success, that you're done, because the work isn't done.
Work's never done.
Yeah.
And I've heard that a lot. The work's never done. I mean, if you hit a place that you know you're happy and that's fine and dandy, but you can always lose clients. You can they can always say, "Hey, we want a different voice. Hey, we stopped doing this," whatever that looks like. So I like that. Pretend they don't exist.
Yeah. Well, and if you've got enough clients, you're probably losing clients every week.
Well, true.
As you find new ones, though.
Yeah.
You know.
But again, that's why you should continue to grow and continue. Well, just the work. The work.
Yeah.
Never
Sometimes
stops.
Dropping them because they're low-paying clients, like you were talking about, Troy, and to make more income, you've got to replace low-paying clients with better-paying clients. Sometimes dropping them because maybe they just weren't a good fit to work with.
Yeah.
Right.
That's okay too. They're not a good match. That's fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Ha
Make it Coke Zero, though, because I'm watching my weight.
Coke.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Coke Zero.
Oh, my.
But, I mean, you guys, it's just, I know we talk about the community so much as we go through these episodes, but that really is what's important, because your community are your coworkers. Try to connect, man. We don't have a water cooler to go to, so get on those Facebook groups, introduce yourself. Go maybe do a workshop or two. See if you can connect with some of those people, because a lot of times those people are just like you. They're in there for the same reasons. Maybe try to hit them up after that workshop and say, "Hey, do you want to work on this together? Should we have an accountability group?" Do something like that, because your community is what helps you through those down times when you're having. You know, Troy had that friend from last episode who was trying to contact him and was just having a bad day. And when they finally talked, it was really just, man, I've been kind of down on myself. And he just needed that kind of kick in the pants from Troy to get back on it. You know what I mean? That's what's so important, is the community that we have here, and keeping us transparent and real with each other about what's going on. Sure, it's okay to be successful, and it's okay to talk about your successes. But, you know, if you're pretending, and I'm not saying and again, I'm not thinking of anybody in particular, but if you're out there and you're just making it look like you're doing so well, but you're really not, you're not doing anybody any favors. Like, you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're definitely not doing anybody in the community any favors at all, you know?
Agree.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
And
you're
it's
just playing
hard
the
to be
Facebook game, the
transparent.
image.
The
right. And what good is that?
Yeah.
What good is that?
You know, I was raised, you don't talk about income. You don't tell people what you make. I was raised
same
that
here,
way.
really.
And then, you know, but what I have tried to do, especially at the end of the year, is to say, all right, my first year, this is, and they're on VO Life podcast. My first year, I made this. My second year, I made this. My third year, I made this. And it was escalating. It was doing good. Am I going to be able to report that back for this year? I don't know yet. I don't know. I think I will. I think it's going to go up. I know it will because I'm already at now where I was last year.
And that's great.
I mean, I'm so close. I'm so close to
yeah.
it. I can say I'm pretty much there.
Yep.
So that leaves, October, November, December. If they're decent months, I'm definitely going to increase enough on last year. But who knows? Who knows? What if, there's a couple of clients who I know always come in hard in November and December, and they spend a pretty good amount of money. They did it last year. I have worked with them all this year. But what if they decide to go with somebody else and that doesn't come in? I may not hit that goal or that target.
Right.
And you just don't know. But I try to be transparent with that so people can see that survey that came out is pretty well spot on.
It is.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty much a good living example of that survey. I'm barely in that thing where they're saying you make 40,000 or less and depending on how long you've been in and whatever. And I pretty well fit into that the first 2 years. And the third year I passed it.
Nice.
Which was great, which is great. And it can be done. But as we all three know, and we're trying very hard to make sure the spokes, the funnels, the streams, all of that is working for us and we're working it harder, it's still going to take us another solid year of that type of marketing to really start seeing results.
Right.
I believe that. And I still will stand by that belief I have that somewhere between the end of year 3 and when you get into year 5, that is when there are lots of changes for you.
Yeah. Keep in mind, that's a 2-year difference. So if you hit year 3 and you're still not experiencing it, you got 2 years to go to hit 5.
Yeah.
Might as well give yourself, you know what I mean?
And I'm hearing other people say this. At first I thought, well, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm imagining this, but I'm hearing people that have been in the industry way longer than me saying, it's a 3 to 5 year thing.
Yeah.
So it just instills it in me that I've seen it with my own data and my own, what I'm doing. And I think if you guys look at yours based on the fact of your first year and a half or so, maybe you discount that because you focused on one thing.
Sure.
And if you'll discount that and say my year 3 and 5 is actually going to be year 4 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And look at it that way. And I realize, like I said earlier, we have to do things to subsidize income.
Yeah, in that way, I feel
I've
like
done things this year. I mean, I sold a wave runner this year.
Yeah, that's right.
I just said I have to buy every year. I have to buy somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000 worth of hay every fall. And did we have the money and savings? Yes. Did I want to wipe savings out to buy hay?
Yeah.
No.
Not if you can help it.
There's a jet ski with 63 hours on it that is 8 years old, which means it's only going to the lake about twice a year, maybe.
Yeah.
And, and we'd rather be riding horses. So, we try to decide, does it make sense?
And
it makes sense.
And you can rent a jet ski.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
For the lake.
And, maybe it's things like that. Sometimes you sacrifice some things to make things work. And that was a big sacrifice because that thing had some sentimental value. My wife's hip was broken the year we bought it. I would get her on the jet ski, buy a walker, take her to the dock on a walker. She could barely get around. And I would lift her and put her on the jet ski. And then I'd go park the truck, come back, and we'd go ride. And she could ride and put up with that. But she couldn't ride a horse. She couldn't walk, couldn't do anything. And we did that whole summer.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of hard to let that thing go. It had
for
some
63
sentimental
hours.
value. Yeah. It had no hours on it. So.
I feel like to get to the next level, to double my income, I need to double my work. And that's one thing I've been focused more on this year. Because I was pretty frustrated last year. And honestly, when you talk about, Troy, starting, where does your 3 to 5 years start? I feel like if I were to start it at the appropriate time where I really started to dig in and build all the spokes of the wheel of my business, I'm probably only starting year 3 right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Or halfway through year 3. So for me, last year, not being where I wanted to be, I'm like, if I need to double my income, I need to double my work. I need to really crack down, really get going on marketing even more than I was, double my efforts, and upgrade my coaching. You guys know that was a big priority starting this year, was to get more coaching. And I'm still working on that, looking at another coach right now, and expand what I can offer as a voiceover talent, as an actor. Saying yes to things that I didn't know were in my skill.
Sometimes making yourself have to do something or saying yes to something and then getting the job is kind of the best way to go about learning new skills.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. Now I had last night, as you guys know, I had a live session with a studio in New York, and man, I was nervous about it because it was not really in my wheelhouse. But the director was fantastic and was very encouraging all through the session, going through all the parts, and afterwards texted me, great session, and just was really appreciative. And that's something probably a year ago I would have said, I don't think so. That's probably not for me. Well, gee whiz, man,
you never know.
Dang it, just try it. Just try it.
I like what you're saying about doubling up on the work. We really do. And the three of us made a commitment this week that every Monday, I can't remember if it's 11 o'clock.
It is.
We're going to get together 11 Central. We're going to get together and we're going to keep a worksheet or something, even if we do it on our own, to say, we're going to set the goals for that week. And we're going to say, did you do it or not? And if you didn't, why? I mean, why are you not doing that? You've got to do it. And now that we know that accountability is coming on Monday at 11, it's one thing to get together and talk about how things are going, but now we're going to be even more structured and say, you said you were going to make 5 cold calls a day. Did you make them? Who did you call?
Right,
how did it work out? And we're going to talk about how it worked out. And I look back at my mission for this year, and I think I'm doing most of what it says. The thing that I've got to continue to work on is the reduction of dialect, and I coach twice a month with Tom Antonellis for that. It's getting better. So now what I've got to do is look at, should I replace a couple of spots on my demo with a more Gen Am spot, which I think I'll have to do that. Now, people hearing me on this podcast going, you still sound like a damn hillbilly to me. But when you focus on it and concentrate on it, it really makes a difference. And I see that that's really, really changing. As I go through the coaching with him, it's like there's less and less obvious things to work on. Then it becomes very, very pinpointed and particular. And that's what I'm saying. When your head and your mind gets into a way to do a dialect or an accent or whatever, you can apply it as you're reading it, and it becomes automatic. It just takes time. So the goal is, by the end of this year, I want to be able to hit a Gen Am audition without really having to think too much about it. And right now I'm still having to think about it. And what I have to do is look at it and go, all right, this has to be Gen Am. Here we go. And be able to go through it. And now I have to play it back and I say, oops, one of my gets turned out to be a get. And I got to fix that.
Get.
And it happens. I mean, it happens. I've spoken that language for 59 years. So,
don't worry, Troy, you'll get it.
I think I'll get that figured out. But, well, I'm thankful for all of this. I'm thankful for you guys, because I think if we didn't do this and do these things, if we didn't do this podcast, if we didn't hold each other accountable, we may have already given up.
Yeah, discouraged might have gotten the best of us.
Yeah.
Right. And it hasn't, and that's a good thing. And guys, take us as proof into pudding. Accountability groups really do help.
Yeah.
If you can find yours, I encourage you to put yourself out there and try to find your group. And you know what? If it doesn't work out with the first couple of people you reach out to, that's fine. Reach out to somebody else. Introduce yourself in a different group. Do something like that.
Yep.
Have people that can hold you accountable. Have your water cooler group, whatever you want to call it. Guys, just put yourself out there. Now, guys, do you have any last minute things that you want to add before we go ahead and close this episode
I'll add to that it really only works in the accountability group if you are authentic.
Mm-hmm.
If you're real with where your business is and what you're capable of doing, what you're accomplishing and what you're not accomplishing.
There you go.
And it helps to have 2 to 3 very different approaches and perspectives. I think that's what helps us the most. Mm-hmm. We had Alden's, the Fiverr approach, Jake's voices.com, and mine was more of an Upwork and Fiverr and wherever else, and I started local marketing. I had a smorgasbord. I did. And it was, I'm blessed with how quickly it flipped. And direct quickly became over 50% of my business real quickly. And that's amazing to me, but it's not because just marketing. A lot of it was just dumb luck.
Well, sometimes that happens too. You can always get lucky. Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for having this conversation with me today. And for you guys listening, thanks for listening. And again, I think this is episode 20?
19.
No, I think it's 20.
Nope.
I don't know.
I'm looking now.
I'm going for 19 because
it's 19.
I think we're one behind on the recording sessions. And
it says that we have 19 episodes published right now.
Oh,
okay. That's surprising.
You're right.
It said episode. Okay, that's so weird because it said episode 9. It says episode 18 for the September 8th, but it says we've had 19 episodes published.
Well, there was an intro.
There's a trailer,
introduction.
Okay,
the trailer.
So there is some
19,
confusion there. Okay, this is episode 19, guys. We're almost hitting episode 20. That's really cool for us. We're really excited to be here and talk to you guys about.
And we're
this
over
stuff.
1,000 downloads.
We are over 1,000 downloads. We are at 1,032 as of right now. We are at 12 downloads today on September 12th. It is our golden day in September. Thank you guys so much for listening in. We'll be back next Friday, as always, with another VO podcast. I'm Jake Sanders with Troy Holden and Alden Schoenberg. Email us your questions, concerns, likes, anything you want within reason to another VO podcast at gmail.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye. You've been listening to It's Another VO Podcast. I'm Alden Schoenberg.
And I'm Jake the Snake.
No, you are not. Settle down.
All right. I'm Jake Sanders.
And I'm Troy Holden.
Join us weekly as we spill the beans about our challenges being full-time struggling voice actors.
Yeah, and by the way, my girlfriend says you two better get it together because she doesn't want me carrying you two on this podcast.
Saith the voiceover rookie himself. But be sure and join us on the next episode because I guarantee it, Jake will do something worth hearing.
And what do you mean by that? No, really, what does that mean?
Dude, let it go. It's all right. It's all right.
Hey, where are you guys going? Hey, don't you kill the feed. Don't you dare kill the feed. Hey, where are you going, Alden? Troy, what are you...